What's good, everyone? This is Chambers. I'm in FL Studio 20. Today we're going to be exploring structuring songs and beats. Structuring can vary for the different types of music that you're working with. For example, they'll have different lengths of verses and hooks. They'll have pre-choruses, bridges, intros, outros. So it really depends on the type of music that you're working with. So today I'm going to be showing you guys my most used formula for structuring, and it's pretty popular and found in some bigger songs today. So let's get right into it. Oh, and also remember, there are absolutely no rules to music. So if I say this should be this amount of bars, this should be this amount of bars, don't take me completely seriously. You can do whatever you want. Music is whatever you want. It's your mind, your music. Usually I'll have an intro that is either 8 bars or 16 bars. If it's just one main melody throughout the song, it'll be 8 bars, because I don't want it to get boring by playing the same melody over 16 bars long and then the hook. In this case, it's 16 bars because we have 2 different melodies. I have this one, and then this one to contrast it. And then all the way over here, I have this third melody. So because we have different options, I'm going to be doing a 16 bar intro. So I'll start it off right here. It's going to sound like this. 8 bars. Then that follows out to another 8 bars. So combined, that's a 16 bar intro. Then we go into the hook. My hooks are usually 16 bars, almost always 16 bars. So in the first 8 bars, you're going to see the central main melody. Then in the second part of the 16 bars, I'm going to bring in a B melody or a C melody or something different. In this case, we have a completely different melody here. This beat does not have a kick in it, but if it did, in the second 8 bars of the 16, I would probably bring in a kick. Other times I just have the kick throughout all 16, but it depends on the vibe of the song. Also, like, this beat's pretty simple. It doesn't have any like percussion or anything like that. But if your beat has percussion in it, say you have like 3 percussion instruments, I'd leave only one of those percussion instruments in the first 8 bars. Then in the second 8 bars, to make it interesting, I'd bring in the other 2 percussion instruments. But this beat is fairly simple, so it's just the same drum pattern. And that goes to show that different songs will have different structuring techniques. So it sounds like this with the main melody for 8 bars. Then we go into the second part. And here we bring in that counter melody. And as you can see, I also changed up the 808. In the first 8 bars and the second 8 bars, they share this pattern for 4 bars of this 808. See, it's the same thing. But then in the next 4 bars, it changes up for both of them. For example, here, we have this 808. Drops down a few notes. Then it picks back up with those 2 notes. However, over here, we only drop down for 1 note, then pick it back up, then we go all the way up for a triple hit. So that's just something to change up the 808 pattern. Now let's get into the first verse. My verses are usually 24 bars, so 3 sections of 8 bars. So you just left the hook, and now you want to hear something different for the verse. So now I bring in a third melody. And I leave it clean for about the first 2 bars here, and then I bring the 808 and the hi-hat and the clap and all that back. And also, as you can see, I stopped using the clap and used a percussion hit here instead to act as the clap. That's something that can catch the attention and the ear of the listener, and it's a cool change up to add along with the countering melody. I think that these 8 bars are a good example of the music changing up and giving the listener something different to hear. Because we just left the hook, right? And then we open up into this clear space. There's no drums, and it's a counter melody. The listener is listening to something different. And then we come in with this perk sound instead of a clap. And we bring the hi-hat in once the perk hits, then straight into the 808. So it's just something cool to catch the listener's ear, and it gets them hyped up again about the beat. Just imagine a rapper. They're rapping right here, and then out of nowhere the 808 just hits. So that can really affect the response that your song will get from a listener. Moving on into the second portion of our 8 bars. Remember, it's 24 bars. We are now in the second 8 bar portion. So here I went back to the original melody that you can see in the intro and the first part of the hook. So now we're back to a familiar area. The listener knows what this is. I cleared the 808 and just let the hi-hat and the clap rock out. Then here I bring in that perk hit again to create more bounce because the 808's about to hit. It gets the listener ready for something to change up. Here's what it sounds like. So now the explanation behind this. So again, in these first 8 bars of the verse, we completely changed everything up and it really hyped up the listener. Now we're releasing all of that tension. It's opening up. There's no 808. It's just a simple hi-hat and clap pattern with the melody. And then as we warm up for the 808, we bring in this perk hit right here, and then we let the 808 hit. Nothing crazy though. And now we bring in another new melody that is found in the second part of the hook. At this point, we're building it up. We're ready to go back into the hook, but we're building it up. So listen to the melody and how it can build up the tension. We start normal here, and then the second melody builds it up. And you know that something's about to hit, and we continue the same drum pattern, except we change from the clap to the perk for more variation. Now here is just a small break. I cut the hi-hat off basically just to add more variation to it. It's just a cool effect that you can add, nothing too crazy. At the end I always leave about 2 to 4 bars of just open space with the melody, so it sounds like this. Empty. Why do I do this? Because I want to create contrast between the verse and the hook. Say I let these drums just keep going on for these 2 bars, then we just go right back into the hook, and the only different thing is that the melody changes and there's no true contrast behind it. But by cutting out the drums and leaving the space open, the listener's like, alright, here we go, something's about to happen. It's empty, it releases all tension, then it starts it back up again in the hook. And that's the perfect way to differentiate the verse between the hook. We just clear it out and then let the hook hit again. So the hook is the same as the hook over here, just that melody, and then we change it up, no differences in the drum. Now we are at the second verse. Again, this is 24 bars. We'll start with the first 8 bars of the verse. Basically, I took the same idea from over here and brought it over here, except I made a few changes. So let's zoom in on that. We have this third melody again. But this time, instead of cutting out the hi-hat and the perk hit, we filled it right after the hook. Because now the listener's like, whoa, we're still going on with the beat. And this could be a part where the rapper could really go off on it. The only thing that cut out was the bass. And to me, the bass is really the strongest element in this beat. It's what brings it its power and its momentum. So when we cut out the most powerful aspect of the song and then bring it back in, it creates a nice contrast for the listener. And to make it even more interesting, I took the 808, I cut out a part and made it hit 2 times before hitting. So altogether it's going to sound like this, and additionally with the 808, I copied the hi-hat and the clap patterns 2 times. So this is what it sounds like. Which is a very cool stutter effect for a rapper to be rapping on. And then we just continue on for the rest of those 4 bars. We are now in the second out of 3 parts of the verse. So the second 8 bar part. Just like before, we return to the regular melody, just the hi-hat and the clap and the perk here, and then the 808. The only thing different is I delay the start of the hi-hats. They start once the clap hits. Why did I do that? I keep asking rhetorical questions like you're gonna answer me. Again, contrast, contrast, contrast. We just ended the drums. For a split second here, I just want to cut out the hi-hat. and then we return to it. It sort of clears it up and brings us back into it, so it sounds like this. See, for a second we're calm, then we're brought back in, then into the 808. And again, like before, basically this is just the same thing. That third melody, 808, hat, percussion hit. And again, cleaning it up at the last 2 bars to prepare for the hook to hit again. Then we got the hook for the 3rd time. And then at the very end, to prepare for the outro, I just cut the hi-hat out. And you let that triple hit of the 808 ride out. The outro here is basically the same thing as the intro, with the first melody to the second melody. Right, so that's the basic structuring. We have our 16-bar intro, we have our 16-bar hook, we have the first 24-bar verse. And remember, to keep it interesting, we use 3 different melodies. Hook number 2, verse number 2 for 24 bars, all 3 melodies used. Then the 3rd hook for 16 bars, and then we wrapped it up with basically the same thing for the intro, except it is not 16 bars, it is 8 bars. Because I didn't want the outro to run on for too long. I just wanted it to be a quick wrap up of the beat. So I cut this melody in half and this melody in half, put them together in an 8-bar outro. Remember, there are other things that you could be doing to make the beat instrument. I cannot speak English. And remember, there are other things that you can be doing to make the beat more interesting beyond the basic structuring. For example, when you're omitting the drums just to clear up the space for the hook to hit, or an 808 stutter, or you're cutting out the hi-hat for a certain part, or you're doing mutes in the beat where the beat just cuts off out of nowhere then hits again. Other things to do, you can mess with the pitch by automating the pitch, have the pitch fade down or up at the end. In this case, I'm going to do the volume. So you want to go into your mixer, go to your master fader, right click the fader, hit create automation clip, right click on this dot here, make sure that you copy the value. Then here at the beginning of the outro, I'm going to right click. Let's see how it got offset from the rest of the line. That's why you want to right click it and hit paste. So now we have equal values of volume. Then at the end, we're going to bring it down and the volume is going to fade out slowly like this. Alright, and now at this point you are ready to export the beat, assuming it's already mixed and everything's set up for you. Make sure you name it with the title of the beat, the BPM, and the key, just to make it easy for whoever's about to be using the beat. It's always so helpful to have the BPM and the key. So yeah, thank you all for watching. I really hope that you guys could learn something. Hopefully I didn't bore you guys too much, but I want you to realize that there is really a science and a psychology behind this, and creating contrast for the listener and keeping them interested. To make the listener want to keep listening, you have to create change-ups. If it's just the same thing over and over and over, it's boring. No one wants to listen to that. So by using different melodies, different drum patterns, stutters, mutes, all different types of things like that, you will keep the listener's attention. So thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. Like, comment, share this video with someone else. Hopefully they can learn something too. And I appreciate all of you.